7 signs you might have a tumor or the hidden hazards within. You feel a twitch, a strange ache, something you've brushed off for weeks, maybe months, a headache you can't explain, a sudden weight loss you didn't plan for. You tell yourself it's nothing, that you're just tired, stressed, overworked. But what if? It's not. What if your body has been whispering a silent warning all along and you just weren't listening? Because tumors don't always arrive with blaring sirens. Sometimes they tiptoe in quietly, hiding behind familiar symptoms until it's too late. This isn't just a video, this is a wake-up call. Here are 7 subtle but serious signs that may mean more than you think. Watch closely, because the life you save could be your own. 1. Unexplained weight loss. You step on the scale and pause. The number is lower than you remember. You step off, step on again, still lower. At first, it feels like a strange kind of gift. Maybe your clothes fit a little better. Maybe someone at work compliments you. Maybe you look in the mirror and think, not bad. But here's the truth. You didn't ask for this. You haven't been exercising. You haven't been eating differently. There's been no new diet, no lifestyle change, no resolution you've been quietly sticking to. And yet, your body is changing, silently, unexplainably, rapidly. We live in a world that celebrates weight loss. Every headline, every product, every social media post tells you, thinner is better, lighter is healthier, shrinking means success. But that narrative has a dark side, a dangerous one, because sometimes weight loss isn't a triumph. Sometimes it's a symptom, a silent red flag waving inside your body. You see, when a tumor begins to grow, especially in critical areas like the pancreas, stomach, lungs, or esophagus, it doesn't stay still. It consumes. It hijacks your body's systems. It robs your energy, your nutrients, your reserves, like a thief in the night. Suddenly, your body is burning through calories at a rate you never authorized. Not because it's working harder, but because something inside is feeding off of you. And yet this warning sign is one of the most deceptive. Because how can something so outwardly positive be rooted in something so deadly? That's the trap. Most people don't report it right away. They tell themselves it's stress, that they've just been busy, that maybe their appetite's been off lately, that the summer heat is making them eat less. But the weeks pass, and the weight keeps dropping. First 5 pounds, then 10, then 15. The mirror becomes confusing. You see a thinner version of yourself, but you also start to feel weaker. Your face grows sharper, your clothes hang looser, and the light in your eyes begins to dim. You might try to eat more, force extra meals, sneak in snacks, but no matter what you do, the scale doesn't listen. The numbers continue to fall, and something deep inside begins to whisper, "This isn't right." Here's what most people don't realize. Unintentional weight loss, especially when it exceeds 5% of your body weight over a short period of time, can be a critical early sign of cancer. It's often associated with malignancies that affect digestion, metabolism, or hormonal balance. Cancers of the gastrointestinal system, like stomach, liver, colon, or pancreatic, are notorious for causing rapid weight loss. But even cancers that originate elsewhere can spark systemic changes that lead to wasting. Why? Because tumors don't just sit still, they interfere. They disrupt the way your body absorbs nutrients. They release inflammatory chemicals that alter how your cells process food. They accelerate your metabolism while simultaneously destroying your appetite. It becomes a perfect storm, a war inside your body where you're losing mass, strength, and energy without a single conscious choice. And here's the truly cruel part. You might feel fine in the beginning, maybe just a little tired, maybe a little less hungry, but otherwise, normal. That's what makes this sign so dangerous. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't sting, it doesn't make you scream. It just quietly erodes you, pound by pound. And by the time most people recognize something is wrong, the cancer has already taken hold. Advanced, spread. Because the warning wasn't painful, it was invisible. That's why this moment, this sign is so vital. It's not about paranoia, it's about pattern. If you're losing weight without trying, if it's consistent, unexplained, and noticeable, don't dismiss it. Don't celebrate it. Question it. Ask, have I made any conscious changes to my diet or exercise? Have I been feeling more tired, even while losing weight? Is this weight loss accompanied by any other symptoms? Nausea, indigestion, stomach pain? or difficulty swallowing? Even if you think the answer is probably nothing, don't gamble. A simple visit, a basic blood test, a quick consultation, that could be all it takes to rule out something serious or to catch something deadly early enough to beat it. Because if a tumor is hiding inside, this might be your only clue. Your first warning. Your body's gentle whisper before the scream. Unexplained weight loss is not always a tragedy. But when it happens without your effort, without your plan, without a clear cause, it's time to stop and listen. Because your body is telling a story, and your job is to hear it in time. So the next time you step on the scale and see a number you didn't expect, ask yourself the hardest question. Is this really a win? Or is it the beginning of something trying to take everything from me? Don't wait for answers to come too late. Weight loss isn't always a goal. Sometimes it's a warning. And when your body changes without your permission, you owe it to yourself to find out why. 2. Chronic fatigue that doesn't improve with rest. You wake up, the sun is shining, the alarm has gone off. Again, you've slept for 7, maybe 8 hours, but your body feels like it's carrying lead. You sit on the edge of the bed, not because you're stretching, but because you're trying to summon the strength to stand. This isn't tiredness. This isn't the kind of exhaustion that follows a long day at work or a sleepless night. This is something deeper, something heavier, something that feels as though it's stitched into your bones. You try to move, try to push through. Maybe a shower will help, maybe some coffee. Maybe if you just get going, the energy will come. But it doesn't, and it hasn't for weeks. You think, maybe I'm just getting older, maybe it's burnout, maybe it's stress. And yes, those are real reasons. But sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes your body isn't just worn out, it's fighting something. You see, fatigue is more than just a feeling. It's the body's most ancient survival mechanism. It's your internal alarm telling you that something is wrong. And when it doesn't go away with rest, when no amount of sleep seems to refill your tank, that's when fatigue stops being normal and starts being dangerous. When a tumor forms, especially in the blood, bones, or vital organs, your body immediately responds. The immune system kicks in. Cells go on high alert. There's inflammation. Microscopic battles begin. And guess what that takes? Energy. Massive amounts of it. Even as you sit still, your body is in overdrive, fighting, trying to contain, trying to understand what's happening inside. And that constant, invisible war leaves you drained. Utterly, brutally drained. You don't want to socialize, you don't want to exercise. Even watching a movie or reading a book feels like too much. You may begin to feel like you're falling behind in life, but what's really happening is that your body is screaming for help. In many types of cancer, especially leukemia, lymphoma, colon cancer, ovarian cancer, and liver cancer, fatigue is often one of the earliest symptoms. Not because of what you're doing, but because of what the disease is doing to you, behind the scenes. It steals your iron, it disturbs your hormone levels, it attacks your red blood cells, it affects your organs' ability to process and filter nutrients, and sometimes it releases toxins that alter your brain chemistry, blurring your focus, dulling your thoughts, making everything feel like it's sinking into mud. You might notice small changes. You're sleeping more, but feeling worse. You can't concentrate like you used to. Your mood shifts, irritation, sadness, withdrawal. Tasks that were once simple now feel monumental. And still, you say nothing, because it feels too vague, too hard to explain. Fatigue isn't dramatic. It doesn't scream or bleed or swell. It doesn't show up in tests or leave visible marks. It just follows you, like a shadow you can't shake. So you tell yourself it's all in your head. You try to work harder, push further, but your body keeps pushing back. That's the trap, because the more you ignore fatigue, the more it grows. And if it's caused by something deeper, like a tumor, you're losing time. You may think you're powering through, but what you're really doing is slowing down your only chance to catch the real problem early. And here's the thing, everyone feels tired, but not everyone feels this. This is the fatigue that doesn't go away. No matter how well you eat, no matter how long you sleep, no matter how hard you try to recover, it seeps into everything. Your work, your relationships, your joy. It becomes the fog that clouds your entire life. So what should you look for? Has your fatigue lasted longer than a few weeks? Is it getting worse over time, not better? Is it affecting your ability to function? Are there other symptoms? Unexplained weight loss, night sweats, dizziness, changes in appetite? If the answer to any of these is yes, then it's time to listen. Get your blood checked, get your iron levels measured, get a full workup done. Because behind that exhaustion could be a tumor growing quietly, stealing your life one breath at a time. And maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's stress or anemia or poor sleep. But maybe it's not. Maybe this is your moment to pause, to pay attention, to catch something now before it becomes something that can't be undone. We've been taught to push through fatigue, to wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, to keep going no matter what. But sometimes, rest isn't the cure. Sometimes, fatigue is not about what you're doing, but about what's being done to you. So if your body is whispering, and you've stopped listening, then this is your reminder. The tiredness that never ends may not be your fault. It may be your warning. 3. Persistent pain without a clear cause. Pain. It's the language the body uses when it has no other way to speak. A flash in your side. A throb in your back. A dull ache that rises with the moon and wakes you before the sun. Sometimes it's sharp, like a blade. Sometimes it's dull, like a bruise beneath the surface. And sometimes it's a strange mixture of both, constant, unpredictable, unwelcome. But here's what makes this pain different. There's no explanation for it. No fall, no injury, no pulled muscle, nothing to point to, and yet it lingers. You take a pill, you try a hot compress, you get a massage, and maybe for a little while, it eases, but it always comes back, always in the same place, always with the same question. What is wrong with me? Maybe it's that ache in your lower back that won't go away. Maybe it's a persistent headache that seems to live behind your eyes. Maybe it's pressure in your pelvis, your ribs, your chest, just subtle enough to ignore, just constant enough to worry. You start to rationalize. You're getting older. You've been working too much. You slept wrong. It must be stress. It must be posture. It must be something simple, right? But still, day after day it's there, like a whisper that turns into a knock and then a pounding at the door of your awareness. This kind of pain, persistent pain without a clear cause, is one of the most overlooked early signs of cancer. Why? Because we learn to live with it. We adapt, we ignore, we endure, especially when it's not severe enough to scream. But tumors don't always scream. Sometimes they press. They press against nerves, they press against bones, they press into soft tissues and wrap around organs. They grow, not in chaos, but in quiet, calculated silence. And that pressure is what you feel. You see, cancer isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's slow, insidious. It creeps into your life like background noise, and pain becomes the soundtrack of something growing deep inside you. Take bone cancer, for example. It often begins with pain that mimics arthritis or sports injuries. Lung cancer can present as shoulder or back pain, long before you ever feel it in your chest. Liver cancer, pancreatic tumors, ovarian cancer, even brain tumors, they can all manifest through lingering, unexplained pain. Pain that medical scans might not detect until it's too late. Because pain is personal. It can't always be measured. It can't always be seen. But it can always be felt. And when it doesn't go away, when it grows stronger, when it wakes you in the night or stops you mid-step, you have to ask, what is my body trying to tell me? Too often, we wait for pain to become unbearable before we act. But by then, the damage may already be done. Because pain is rarely the first symptom. It's the messenger of progression. It's your body waving a red flag after weeks or months of silent battle. And still, we minimize it. We call it annoying. We laugh it off. We bury it beneath our busy lives. But your body is patient. It won't scream, unless it has to. And by then, you're already running out of time. What does persistent pain look like? It's that stomach discomfort that's always just gas. That lower back ache that flares up every afternoon. That pelvic pressure that comes and goes. That neck stiffness you've blamed on your pillow for 2 months now. That jaw ache, the swelling near your ribs, the sting in your spine. Pain without injury. Pain without trauma. Pain that keeps returning. Don't silence it. Question it. Ask, how long have I felt this pain? Is it getting worse or staying the same? Is it affecting how I move, how I sleep, how I live? Have I tried to explain it away too many times? If the answers are unclear, if the pain keeps showing up like a shadow you can't shake, then it's time for action. See a doctor. Ask for a full examination. Request imaging if necessary. X-rays, MRIs, ultrasounds. Get blood work done. Let them rule out what it's not, so you can catch what it might be. Because if pain is your body's warning, ignoring it won't make it stop. It'll only allow the danger to grow in the background. And here's the thing. Pain is not weakness. Pain is not your body failing you. Pain is your body fighting for you. Trying desperately to get your attention before it's too late. Don't let it fight alone. Persistent pain doesn't mean you're overreacting. It doesn't mean you're dramatic. It means you're alive enough to feel what needs to be felt and wise enough to respond. Because when something inside your body is wrong, it doesn't ask for your permission. It only waits to be noticed. So if pain has made itself a roommate in your life, if it's been showing up day after day without a name, don't let it stay uninvited. Open your eyes. Open your mouth. Get help. Because silence is not strength, and pain that doesn't go away may be the very thing trying to save you. 4. Changes in skin, lumps, or swelling. Your skin tells a story. Every freckle, every scar, every wrinkle. It's a history book written in flesh and pigment, a living canvas of everything you've endured, everything you've healed from. But sometimes that story starts to change. Subtly, quietly, like the beginning of a storm on a clear day. Maybe you notice a bump, small, painless, firm beneath the skin. It wasn't there before, was it? You press it between your fingers. It doesn't move, it doesn't hurt. So you tell yourself, it's probably nothing. You'll check it again in a week, but you don't. Or maybe there's a mole you've had for years, but now it looks different. The edges are jagged, the color is darker, it bleeds when you touch it, or it seems to be growing. Still, you shrug it off. After all, it's always been there, right? And then there's the swelling, a strange puffiness in your neck, a fullness under your jaw, a tightness in your armpit or groin. It's not painful, it's not red, but it lingers. Days go by, and it's still there. These changes, these invisible shifts and quiet warnings, they're easy to dismiss, easy to hide beneath clothes, easy to push to the back of your mind. But they're also easy to miss. And that's the danger, because not all tumors grow deep inside. Some rise to the surface, some press outward, forming silent lumps beneath the skin, in your breast, your testicle, your lymph nodes, your abdomen. They often appear without pain, without trauma, without invitation, and they don't go away on their own. They sit quietly, growing. Your skin might start to tell you something in other ways. Maybe you notice thickening in certain areas, like skin that feels like leather or wax. Maybe a rash appears that won't heal. Maybe a patch of skin becomes scaly, itchy, discolored, pink, red, brown, black. Or maybe your skin begins to dimple in places it never did before, pulling in as if something beneath it is tugging it downward. These aren't cosmetic issues. They're not aging. They're not allergies. They're signals. Because tumors change the landscape around them. They press against tissue. They alter circulation. They trigger inflammation. They create abnormal growths, blocking vessels, irritating nerves, reshaping your body, quietly and methodically. And when those changes reach the surface, you're not just seeing them, you're being warned. One of the earliest signs of breast cancer is a lump or dimpling of the skin. Lymphomas can cause swelling in the neck, armpits, or groin, painless but persistent. Melanoma starts on the skin, often disguised as an innocent mole. Testicular cancer, thyroid tumors, soft tissue sarcomas, all can present as lumps that grow silently without pain. By the time they become painful, they've already started to invade. So why do so many people wait? Because it's easy to convince yourself it's not serious. Because lumps that don't hurt don't feel threatening. Because we don't want to overreact. Because we're afraid of what we might find. But here's the truth. Finding it early is the only advantage we have. That lump today could be life-changing tomorrow. That skin change could be a whisper before the scream. That swelling might be your body begging you to look before it's too late. So what should you look for? A new lump or swelling under your skin that doesn't go away. A mole that changes in color, shape, size, or bleeds. Skin that thickens, puckers, darkens, or becomes irritated without reason. Unexplained swelling in your neck, jaw, groin, or armpits. Any change on the surface of your body that won't heal, keeps changing, or feels unfamiliar. If you notice one of these, don't ignore it. Don't wait and hope it disappears. Hope is not a diagnosis. You don't need to panic, but you do need to act. See a doctor. Request an examination. Ask for imaging if needed. Get a biopsy if advised. Because even if it turns out to be nothing, even if it's a cyst or a lipoma or an infection, you've still won. Because you chose awareness over ignorance. You chose action over delay. Too many stories of late-stage cancer begin with this sentence. I noticed a lump, but I didn't think it was serious. Don't let your story be one of them. This is your body. You live in it every day. You know it better than anyone else. So when it changes, when it speaks, listen. Because the earlier you act, the more power you have. And sometimes all it takes is a moment of courage to look closer, to ask questions, to demand answers. So if your skin is showing signs, if there's a lump that wasn't there before, if something about your body feels unfamiliar, do not wait. Do not wish it away. Do not explain it into silence. Because cancer doesn't knock loudly, it taps gently, and by the time it screams, the door may already be open. 5. Difficulty swallowing or digestive discomfort. It starts small. A pause during dinner, a sip of water after every bite, a quiet moment when food just doesn't go down as smoothly as it used to. You tell yourself you ate too fast. Maybe you didn't chew enough. Maybe you're just stressed. You feel a strange tightness in your throat, like something is stuck, but you know you swallowed. You try again. It happens again. Soon swallowing becomes something you think about, not something that just happens. Every meal feels like work. Each bite feels heavier than the last. Even water needs help getting down. You begin avoiding bread, then rice, then meats. You stick to soft foods, liquids, soups, not because of preference, but because your body is warning you. Something isn't right. Maybe it's not just swallowing. Maybe your stomach is in knots. You eat less, but feel full faster. You feel bloated after small meals. You burp constantly. You feel nauseous at random times. You chalk it up to gas, or maybe the wrong seasoning, or a late-night snack. But days pass, then weeks, and the discomfort lingers. The pain is low, deep in your gut, not sharp, but constant. You begin to anticipate it. You begin to fear eating. You lose your appetite, not because you're not hungry, but because your body seems to punish you for trying. And slowly, food becomes the enemy. You find yourself skipping meals, not out of discipline, but dread. You lose weight, you grow weaker. And still, you hope it's just indigestion. But tumors, especially in the esophagus, stomach, pancreas, colon, and intestines, often begin this way. Not with explosions of pain, but with disruptions in the most basic function of survival. Eating. A tumor in the esophagus may narrow the passage. It doesn't hurt, but it changes the way food moves. You start chewing longer, drinking more, avoiding solids altogether. A tumor in the stomach may interfere with digestion. It slows everything down. It alters acidity. It triggers pain, nausea, acid reflux. You start eating less because less feels safer. Tumors in the intestines or colon may cause bloating, cramping, or irregular bowel movements. You feel blocked up. Then suddenly, you're going too often. You swing between extremes. Nothing feels consistent anymore. But we're taught to overlook digestive issues. We tell ourselves it's the food, the stress, the lifestyle. We ignore the symptoms until they become suffering. And by then, the tumor has already taken root. The body's digestive system is remarkably sensitive. It doesn't need to scream when something's wrong. It just needs to slow down, change rhythm, break the pattern. And in that broken pattern is your sign. Here's what to look for. Difficulty swallowing that gets worse over time. A sensation of food getting stuck in your throat or chest. Persistent heartburn or acid reflux, especially if new or worsening. Feeling full after just a few bites. Bloating or stomach discomfort that doesn't go away. Nausea without a known cause. A sudden loss of appetite. Unexplained weight loss tied to eating less or avoiding meals. If these symptoms appear once or twice, they may be harmless. But if they're persistent, if they follow you for weeks, they demand your attention. You see, tumors don't just feed off your body, they rob it of its peace. They take what should be automatic, eating, digesting, absorbing nutrients, and they make it feel foreign. They take what should bring comfort, a warm meal, a full plate, and turn it into anxiety, pain, discomfort, fear. And that fear silences too many people because they don't want the test, they don't want the diagnosis, they don't want to know. But silence is the enemy of survival, and delay is the best friend of disease. So if your body is reacting to food with distress, if you find yourself changing your habits, avoiding your favorites, eating with caution, chewing longer than before, swallowing slower, then it's time to act. Get a full exam. Talk to a gastroenterologist. Request an endoscopy. Demand clarity. Because when a tumor grows in the digestive tract, it doesn't wait for you to catch up. It doesn't stop until it's stopped. And your only weapon, your only chance, is early awareness. Let's be honest, we don't like talking about digestion. It's too personal, too awkward, too embarrassing. But cancer doesn't care about your comfort. It only cares about silence. And the longer you stay silent, the more power it gains. So if food is no longer comfort, if swallowing feels like work, if your stomach has become a battlefield, don't turn away. Don't write it off. Because something small today could be the beginning of something devastating tomorrow. Pain is obvious, but discomfort, especially digestive discomfort, can be deceptive. And yet it's just as dangerous. So listen to your body. Trust your gut. Literally. Because when your body starts rejecting what once nourished it, you owe it to yourself to find out why. Before it's too late. 6. Unexplained bleeding or discharge. Blood. It's the symbol of life and the first sign that something might be wrong. We're conditioned to respond to it instantly. A cut, a scrape, a wound. When we see blood, we act. We cover it, clean it, stop it. But what happens when there's no cut, no injury, no trauma? What happens when you see blood and there's no explanation? A spot on the tissue, a streak in the toilet bowl, a patch on your underwear, a stain on your pillow. At first you think, maybe I brushed too hard, maybe it's a hemorrhoid, maybe it's my period coming early. Maybe. But maybe not. Unexplained bleeding or abnormal discharge is one of the most overlooked warning signs of cancer, and one of the most urgent. Because blood doesn't lie. It doesn't show up for no reason. When it appears unexpectedly, it means your body is struggling to contain something, or something inside you is breaking through where it shouldn't. Maybe you cough, and there's a faint tint of red. Not much. Just enough to pause. You ignore it. It was just once. But then it happens again. Maybe you go to the bathroom and notice blood in your stool. Dark, tar-like, or bright red. You tell yourself it's hemorrhoids, that it'll go away. But deep down, you wonder, why does it keep happening? Maybe your urine is pink. Maybe there's blood after intercourse. Maybe you bleed between periods. Maybe you're postmenopausal, and suddenly you're bleeding again. And that's when the questions begin to mount. The questions you don't want to ask, the answers you're afraid to find. Because these signs are quiet. There's no pain, no scream, just a trail. A subtle trace of something beneath the surface. A wound that isn't visible. A warning that your body is bleeding from the inside out. Cancer has many faces, and some of the most dangerous ones wear no expression at all. Colon cancer often announces itself with blood in the stool, but the blood may be so dark you can't see it. Bladder or kidney cancer can cause blood in urine, a symptom many mistake for a urinary tract infection. Lung cancer may produce blood in the cough, while uterine or cervical cancers show themselves through vaginal bleeding, especially in women past menopause or between periods. Breast cancer may reveal itself through bloody discharge from the nipple, even in the absence of lumps. And head and neck cancers can bleed subtly through the nose, the throat, or from sores that don't heal. But what makes these symptoms dangerous is not just their presence, it's our tendency to ignore them. Because no one wants to say the word cancer. So we say, it's probably nothing. It'll go away. I'll deal with it later. But cancer doesn't wait. It doesn't stop growing because you stopped looking. It doesn't pause because you're afraid. When blood appears where it shouldn't, that is not the time to delay. That is the time to act. You may feel embarrassed. You may think it's a private issue. You may hesitate to tell your doctor, but your body is not trying to embarrass you. It's trying to save you, and it's doing the only thing it knows how, by leaving evidence, by giving you a chance to catch the truth before it's too late. You might be scared to face it. That's normal, but courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to act in spite of it. So ask yourself, have I noticed blood in my urine, stool, saliva, or discharge? Have I been bleeding between periods, after menopause, or after intimacy? Have I seen bleeding from unusual areas, nose, ears, nipples, gums, without injury? Has it happened more than once? Even if it was just a small amount, even if it was just one time, don't brush it aside. It could be the body's first and only chance to tell you, look here. Because early stage cancers are often silent. But blood is never silent. Get examined, get tested. Request a colonoscopy, a pelvic exam, a scan, whatever is relevant to where the bleeding occurred. Even if it turns out to be nothing, you've still taken control. You've still chosen life over fear. Because the biggest tragedy is not that cancer exists, it's that it's often treatable when caught early and devastating when caught late. And too often, the only difference between the two is how quickly someone responded to the warning signs. So the next time you see blood where it doesn't belong, don't clean it and forget it. Remember it. Write it down. Tell your doctor. Track it and act. Because no one wants to talk about bleeding, but not talking could cost you the one thing you can never get back. Time. Your body is not betraying you. It's alerting you, begging you to notice, to investigate, to protect what matters most. So listen, look closer, ask questions, and demand answers. Because blood is not just a mess to clean up, it's a message. And sometimes that message can save your life. Sign 7, persistent cough or voice changes. It starts with a tickle, just a small itch in the back of your throat. You clear it, you cough once, then again. You tell yourself it's the weather, the dry air, maybe the season is changing, maybe it's just allergies. But days go by, then weeks, and the cough doesn't stop. It lingers through meetings, through meals, through moments of silence. You try lozenges, honey, herbal teas, but nothing works. It comes and goes, sometimes dry, sometimes deep. Sometimes it wakes you at night. Other times it follows you all day like a shadow with sound. You try to ignore it. You apologize for it in conversations. You joke that you're just getting old, but it keeps returning. And beneath the surface, something inside you whispers, this isn't normal anymore. Then one morning, you speak and your voice sounds different, raspy, weaker, like someone else's words coming from your mouth. Maybe it cracks mid-sentence. Maybe you struggle to project. Maybe people keep asking if you're sick, but you're not. You feel fine, right? No fever, no cold, no sore throat, just a cough. And a voice that doesn't feel like your own. So you drink more fluids, you rest your vocal cords, you avoid yelling, talking too much, laughing too hard, but still, your voice stays altered. Still, the cough echoes, and what began as a mild annoyance starts to feel like a quiet invasion. Because sometimes, a cough isn't a symptom of a virus, but a symptom of something growing. And sometimes, your voice doesn't change because of overuse, but because something deep inside has found its way to the chords that define your sound. Persistent coughing and voice changes are more than just inconveniences. They're early indicators of serious conditions, sometimes the first red flags of cancer. Lung cancer, especially in its early stages, often presents with a cough that won't go away. Not a loud, barking cough, but a quiet, stubborn one. A cough that seems to have no source, no infection, no injury, just presence. Over time, it may bring up blood, or phlegm, or it may stay dry, like a ghost rattling inside your chest. It might feel deep, behind the sternum, or high at the base of your throat, or it may float unpredictable and unnerving. And then there's the voice. Tumors in the larynx, thyroid, or even lungs can affect your vocal cords. They press, they inflame, they interrupt. The voice begins to lose power, tone, color, and slowly, you feel yourself disappearing into a whisper. We often ignore these symptoms because they seem so minor, so mundane. We tell ourselves, everyone gets a cough, voices get hoarse, it's normal. But here's what makes it dangerous. Normal symptoms that last longer than they should. That's the line between recovery and risk. Time. If a cough lasts longer than 3 weeks, if your voice stays hoarse for more than 10 days, if it's getting worse, not better, that's not a cold, that's a sign. But you don't feel sick. You're not in bed, you're still working, still walking, and that makes you delay. You convince yourself to wait, to monitor it, to see how it goes. Meanwhile, if it's cancer, it's growing. Lung cancer kills silently, not with pain, but with symptoms people live with for too long. Laryngeal cancer doesn't begin with choking. It begins with a voice that slowly fades, a cough that quietly scratches, a throat that constantly needs clearing. Thyroid tumors may press against nerves that control your voice. They may go unnoticed until you start whispering in a room where you used to speak loud and clear. And then, when the scans are finally ordered, the diagnosis comes. And it hits like a thunderclap. This started months ago. That's the tragedy. Not just the illness, but the time lost pretending it was something else. So here's what to ask. Has my cough lasted longer than 3 weeks? Has it changed over time? Gotten deeper, more frequent, more dry? Am I coughing up anything? Blood, mucus, phlegm, without a cold? Has my voice been hoarse for more than 10 days without strain? Does my voice crack or weaken even though I feel fine? Do I constantly feel like I need to clear my throat? Have others noticed my voice sounds different? If the answer is yes to any of these, don't wait. Get a chest x-ray. Ask for a CT scan. See an ENT specialist. Have your vocal cords examined. Get your thyroid checked. Demand more than reassurance. Demand clarity, because your voice is not just a sound, it's your identity, it's how you're heard. And when it begins to change without cause, your body is speaking in its own way. Don't let that message go unheard. The truth is this: a cough doesn't have to be violent to be dangerous. A voice doesn't have to disappear completely to be under attack. Cancer whispers, and your only defense is to listen while it's still quiet. So if your cough won't go away, if your voice won't come back, if your throat has become a stranger, don't be silent. Speak up, get help, and catch what might be hiding before it has the chance to steal your breath or your voice forever. You've made it to the end, but this isn't the end of a video. It might just be the beginning of something far more important. A new perspective, a closer relationship with your body, maybe even a decision that saves your life. Let's stop, let's breathe, and let's reflect on what we now know, because what you just heard wasn't just information. It was a lifeline. Unexplained weight loss, the pounds falling off when you didn't ask them to, compliments that feel strange, a shrinking frame that doesn't match your lifestyle. It's not always a success story. Sometimes it's your body being consumed from within. Chronic fatigue that doesn't improve with rest. It's not just being tired. It's waking up exhausted, dragging yourself through the day while something inside you fights in silence. This isn't burnout. This is the body caught in a war you didn't know you were in. Persistent pain without a cause. You didn't fall. You didn't strain anything. But the pain keeps coming back, like a haunting reminder of something you can't name. A tumor doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hums with a low ache until it steals your peace. Changes in skin, lumps, or swelling. A bump you ignore. A mole that's changing shape. Skin darkening, thickening, pulling in ways it didn't before. These aren't cosmetic quirks, they're warnings. Visible tremors on the surface of something deeper. Difficulty swallowing or digestive discomfort. Eating becomes harder. Swallowing feels forced. Food doesn't sit right in your stomach. You stop enjoying meals, not because you're full, but because something inside is rejecting what you need to survive. Unexplained bleeding or discharge. Blood in the toilet, on the tissue, in your urine, in your cough. You didn't cut yourself, but the blood is there, and that is never, ever okay. This is the body flashing a red light in places most people are too afraid to look. Sudden changes in vision, speech, or coordination. You stumble, you slur, your handwriting changes, your thoughts get foggy. The nervous system is delicate, and when something invades it, your body starts to misfire. And in those misfires is a silent cry for help. These 7 signs are not random, they're not isolated, and they're not to be taken lightly. Each one is a signal. And each signal could mean the difference between early detection and devastating delay. You don't have to panic, but you do need to be aware. So let's talk about what you can do, starting right now. Get checked. If something feels off, don't wait. A small test today could prevent a major treatment tomorrow. Document your symptoms. Keep a journal. Track what you feel, when you feel it, how often. Patterns speak louder than isolated events. Talk about it. With your doctor, with your loved ones, with yourself. Your silence won't protect you, but your voice might save you. Don't delay. Waiting doesn't heal tumors. Hoping doesn't stop them from growing. Time is either your enemy or your greatest ally. Know your family history. Genetics can be a map, and if you know where danger might lie, you'll know where to look. Take care of the basics. Eat clean, sleep well, move your body, hydrate, treat your body not just like a machine, but like the home it truly is. And above all, listen. Your body doesn't lie. It doesn't hide things without reason. It wants to survive just as much as you do. It wants to keep you safe, but it can't do it alone. You must pay attention. You must act with courage. And you must remember, even when symptoms seem small, when caught early, even the most aggressive cancers become beatable. So if this video made you think, made you pause, made you reflect on even one small symptom you've ignored, then don't walk away unchanged. Subscribe, stay connected, turn on notifications. Because in a world of noise, you deserve a space that protects your health, your awareness, and your future. Every week we bring more stories like this, more signs to look for, more ways to fight back, more truth in the face of silence. Your health isn't a luxury, it's your legacy. And the more you know, the stronger you become. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay alert, stay strong, and stay alive.